Hello and welcome to T&N Bull. My name is Will and this is your 15-minute short. I'm going to be doing this most days really, to be honest with you. And it's just going to be 15 minutes of a topic where I talk about my feelings and viewpoints towards it. And it's just 15 minutes of pure rubbish, really. So to begin with, I thought we would start quite nicely with a topic regarding some relevant news. So obviously, if you've not been living under a rock for the past 2 months, you will know that Newcastle United have had a humongous cash injection with their new owners coming in. In the last football-based podcast that I did with Jay, we delved into why I believed Eddie Howe was the right appointment for now. So what I'm going to talk about today is 5 players I believe Newcastle could bring in relatively quickly that would not only steady the ship, but also potentially set them up next season for a European place. And I'm not talking Champions League, I'm talking Conference, maybe Europa at a push. But yeah, I have chosen these 5 players based on personal opinion as well as, relevant stats and things like that. So, let me know what you think in the comments underneath to each of these players. But without further ado, we're going to go in at number 5. Now, the first position that I want to focus on for me would be the left-hand side. Now, we're going off of sportsmole.co.uk, what they perceive to be Newcastle's best starting 11 currently without a transfer window under the belts, under new ownership and manager. So, they've got Dubravka in there, they've got Kraft at right back, Lewis at left back, Shaw and Lascelles as 2 centre-backs, 2 DMs of Jeff Hendrick and John Joe Shelby. Then they've got a 3 in front of them. So they're playing 4-2-3-1. And they've got Fraser on the left, Almiron as attacking midfielder, obviously St. Maximin at right wing, and then Callum Wilson up top. So the first area of focus I want to look at is that left wing spot. Now, Fraser, to me, pulled a bit of a fast one on Eddie Howe when he refused to sign a new contract at Bournemouth when Eddie Howe was the current boss. He did that thinking that he was going to get a move to, a top 6 club. There was talks of Tottenham and Arsenal being interested. It never materialised, and he now plays for Newcastle. I can't see Eddie Howe looking at him and going, you know what, you're going to get minutes every single week, mate, because essentially when Fraser left, it kind of had this domino effect that eventually caused Eddie Howe to lose his job. So the first player that I'm going to talk about, which is quite a weird one as an Arsenal fan, but somebody who I do genuinely believe deep down has a little bit to offer, is Alexis Sanchez. Now, Alexis Sanchez made a name for himself at Barcelona, as we all know. He made a name for himself there. He then moved over to Arsenal. He was absolutely sensational for us. He is probably the best player I've seen at Arsenal since Bergkamp, Henry, Vieira, Ljungberg, Perez and them left. I can't really think of another player that's really got me out of my seat as much as he did. Then he did the unthinkable, swapped over to Man United, had a flop there. Went over to Inter, started off promisingly, and is now struggling for game time. So, I know Alexis Sanchez very, very, very well because I followed him for years when he was at Arsenal. And I know that Sanchez is not happy in his current situation at Inter. I do personally believe that he has a little bit left to offer. I know he's 32 now, but Transfer Market has his current value down at 4.5 million. So do I believe that for a club like Newcastle, they could take a gamble on a player like Sanchez for that little money? Yes, 100%. Is he better than Fraser? Yes, he is 100%. Does he know the Premier League? Yes, he does 100%. He ruled it for a couple of years. So I think personally that is a very low risk transfer that could potentially have a high risk reward. Because if it does go, tits up, you're only going to take him at 32 on a 1 or maybe a 2 year contract. So just chuck him 60 grand a week because he knows he's going to take a pay cut wherever he goes and say, let's see what you can do. So yeah, Sanchez on the left. The next talking point that I'm gonna touch on now. I will be honest with you. I look at Newcastle's front and I think they're underperforming because I do rate Callum Wilson as a player. I like Callum Wilson. I think he is a good signing for Newcastle, but I don't think he's going to take them to the next level where they want to be. So I have been looking through databases in terms of who could potentially come in and do this. And one player that always strikes me, and he probably strikes a lot of other people in world football as well, is Alexander Isak of Real Sociedad. Now, Isak is a mountain powerhouse. If you compare him statistically to other players, he is the budget Haaland, really. He's tall, he's fast, he's powerful. He's not quite Erling Haaland, but I don't think anybody's on his level, not even Mbappe, if I'm honest with you. And he would command a kind of hefty transfer fee in terms of what your end product's going to get. Now, this season, he's played 13 games in total, 10 in La Liga, 3 in Europa League. He's scored a total of 5 goals. And he also has 1 assist. So that's 6 goal contributions in 13 games for a 22-year-old striker. I don't think that's too bad, to be honest with you. And I think that players in the Premier League would struggle against, well, defenders certainly would struggle against a man of his size. You don't really see those strikers with, huge stature in the box in the Premier League anymore. Premier League, as teams have adapted more of a, not small, but tactical approach towards their strikers. Now, Alexander Isak, I do believe personally would slot him well at Newcastle, and he is available according to Transfer Market for 36 million, which I don't think is too bad given his age and the hype that is surrounding this kid. I think he could slot straight into the squad and really add to Newcastle's firepower. So that would be the second player. Now, the third and fourth players are, to me, midfielders, quite clearly. Now, Almiron and St. Maximin are safe, in my opinion, but the two DMs of Hendrick and Shelvey, I personally believe if you want to get anywhere in terms of success or in or around the Premier League, you need a better midfield than Jeff Hendrick and John Joe Shelvey. It's a no-brainer. Somebody who impressed me at the Euros and has impressed me in the League One that I've been watching as well is a player who has played in the Premier League before. He is only 24. He's played here before. He wasn't considered great when he was over here, but I do think that there is a good player in him waiting to explode, and he's also not going to command European football. In my opinion, I don't think he has the right to say, I deserve to be at a Champions League club, but he does have the right to be a starter at a good project, in my opinion. And that player is Renato Sanchez. Obviously, he started his career with Benfica before commanding a 31.5 million transfer fee over to Bayern. He had a loan season at Swansea. He wasn't great, but you could also put that down to Swansea not being great on a whole. He then went back to Bayern and subsequently a year later moved to Lille, where he's been doing pretty well since, if I'm honest with you. He's only played 8 games this season, no goals but 1 assist, but he is a player that, from what I saw at the Euros, he will link up well. He will take the ball, he will drive it forward, and he will look for the options in front of him. Which to me in a midfield and in the way that I like to play football is pinnacle. You need a good CDM, and then you need a solid minded passer who can activate the attack. So Renato Sanchez would command a 27 million transfer fee according to Transfer Market. So I think he would sit perfectly alongside, and you're probably going to laugh at me at this point, 32-year-old CDM Axel Witsel. Now, Witsel is a player that seems to have been around for ages. He is most recently at Borussia Dortmund. He is 32, which is probably why he feels like he's been around for ages. But he is a solid player. He's been at Dortmund for a while. You do not stay at a club like Borussia Dortmund for a long time unless you've got a bit about you. Obviously, his previous clubs, he started at Standard Liège until he moved over to Benfica. And then he went back over to Russia, where he continued his career at Zenit St. Petersburg. He then moved to Chinese side TJ Quanjin, and then moved over to Borussia Dortmund in the 18-19 season for £18 million. So yeah, he's had a bit of a wishy-washy career. He's only been in Europe four times. He's been in Europe for the majority of his career, but what I would class as elite Europe, he's been in twice. I don't count Russia as elite Europe. Portugal and Germany, yes, I do. And he is a solid CDM, and I think he would do really well alongside Renato Sanchez of quite literally commanding the ball, sitting in front of the defence, winning anything loose, winning first, second, third balls, giving it to Renato, who can then move the attack forward. So, personally, I think Axel Witsel, again, is a very low-risk transfer. His current market value is 8.1 million. If it goes wrong, you've only really lost out on 8.1 million, and he'll make that back in shirt sales because of his name. So, yes, that is the player number, counting down from 5, that will be number 2. And number 1 is a player who, funnily enough, is actually being linked with Newcastle. He is a player that, again, played under Eddie Howe. He then commanded a big transfer fee over to Manchester City, and it hasn't quite worked for him there just yet. And that's Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake is obviously, he's 26, so in defenders' years, that's still quite young. He is a left-footed centre-back, which are very hard to come by nowadays. But they're also very useful. You only need to look at players like Gabriel and the impact that he's had since going to Arsenal, to realise that left-footed centre-backs really are rare. Obviously, he was at Bournemouth when Howe was there. And then Bournemouth signed him permanently for 20.52 million from Chelsea. And then he went to Man City for 40 million. There is a player in Nathan Ake. There is a player in there. I know it because I've seen it. I saw him at Bournemouth. He was a cracking defender. You know, even Man United were chasing this guy before they got Maguire, I believe. And personally, I don't think he's going to get the look in at City he is going to need. When you've got players like Ruben Diaz, John Stones, Aymeric Laporte in front of you, you are always going to be a bench warmer, in my opinion. They are 3 fantastic centre-backs. So I think he needs a new challenge, and I think that going back with Eddie Howe, the man who, in my opinion, put Ake on the market for Chelsea, subsequently being bought by Bournemouth. But yeah, I think going there with Eddie Howe under a new project, starting week in and out, he could really become a solid Newcastle centre-back for years and years and years to come, in my opinion, because he does want Champions League football. And I think he will get that if he goes to Newcastle and sticks there for, I don't know, 7 years maybe, or something like that, or sees the majority of the rest of his career out there. It could be a very, very good move for him. So, yes, that in turn would then mean that after all of that, Nathan Ake is worth 28.8 million according to Transfer Market. That's 104.4 million for those 5 players. So for 104.4 million, the lineup could be Dubravka in net, Kraft at right back, Lascelles and Ake with Lewis at left back, Axel Witsel and Renato Sanchez centre mid, Alain Saint-Maximin, Almiron and Alexis Sanchez as just in front of those in a midfield trio, and then up top on his own, Alexander Isak. And that, to me, would not only keep them up, but put them in contention next season for a Champions League spot. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what club that you may think, maybe we should do that next. Again, this is all up for debate. If you think I'm talking out of my bottom, let me know. If you agree with me, let me know. And as always, please do like, share and subscribe. Every single subscription, every single like, every single share, it does not go unnoticed. We cannot do this without you, and we do need you now. If you want to send a donation, again, that is absolutely phenomenal. We appreciate every single donation we get. If you can't afford that, no problem at all. It takes nothing and no money to subscribe to us. You've been listening to TNM Bull. I've been Will, your host, and I will speak to you guys very soon. Take care.